The sub-Saharan Africa area, including Nigeria, may see a decrease in remittance inflows due to many headwinds that have been identified by the World Bank. This is, of course, a collaboration with Nomad on remittances, which it says expects to grow faster in 2024. But there are a number of headwinds which we will get into, including a slowdown in developed nations where those remittances are supposed to be sourced from. We're talking about Kenya's debt in the prior segment. Nigeria's debt, according to calculations looking at nominal GDP, would amount to about 52.6% as far as the debt to GDP ratio is concerned, based on those new debt figures that were released by the Debt Management Office in the first quarter of the year. What are the ramifications? Arise business analyst Chika Mbonu joins us to discuss. Happy Monday morning to you.
Happy new month, actually.
Exactly, new month as well. Exactly. Well, welcome, Chika. Good morning.
Yeah, you're right. How are you today?
Fine, thank you. Fine, thank you. So, what do you make of?
Let's talk about the debt.
Yeah.
Let me posit that debt on its just very nature, it's not a bad thing. And we've said so in this program several times. The issue boils down again to what do you do with debt, the debt that you accumulate. That has been the major challenge. And I say, when we push now, in the breaking news, our debt to GDP ratio has hit above 50%. And it seemed like a bad news, but some countries, the same ratio, like US only is about 127%. Italy is about 142%. Even in Africa, you have countries like Ghana is 85%. South Africa is about 96%.
Wow.
So you see countries that their own ratio is higher than ours. But the issue is not that ratio, really. The issue is, first of all, what do you do with the debt that you accumulate?
Yeah.
And because you've seen, for Nigeria, the debts are like the domestic debts and foreign debts. So you've seen every time debts have been taken for water projects, yet people are still going to the streams to go and fetch water. There's no water anywhere, despite the several water projects. You hear about hospital projects that have been taken for debt, but nothing happens. Sometimes road projects, even Nigeria, our Jakarta Steel project also, how many years that has been on the burner. So the issue is, what do you do with the debt? Because the debt ordinarily is supposed to come, enter the system, create employment. People pay taxes. I don't know the day taxes go back and pay the debts. And the employments are created, the economy grows, GDP expands. But when you have those debts coming and they fund uncompleted projects like in Nigeria, the whole Nigeria is littered with so many uncompleted projects with debts in the books, running to billions and trillions of Naira.
Yeah.
That's where the challenge is for us. So the absoluteness of the figure of, breaking news is more than 50% now. It's not really the issue. Because as I said, so many countries have the ratios almost more than 100%.
Gotcha.
Again, for Nigeria, again, if you recall, during the administration before this one, what the Minister of Finance used to parrot then was that we have a low debt to GDP ratio. We have a low debt to GDP ratio. Our problem is not debt, and because we have the capacity to borrow more, which is okay. And so this thing happening again, this ratio that come up now, tends to downplay, moderate that song. They may not sing it a lot again, that we have a low debt to GDP ratio. But for Nigeria, what is critical, therefore, is what? How do you service those debts?
Yeah.
The ability to service those debts. And that's what makes the absoluteness of the debts worrisome. Because, the important ratio that Nigeria should look at, for our viewers, is the one they called the debt service to revenue ratio.
Right.
Debt service to revenue ratio is like you and me that will borrow money, who on salary, and who borrow money from bank. How much of our salary do we use to service, pay back those debts? If we take all our salary, if any 100,000 naira, and we take 90,000 naira to pay back those debts, it means that we won't be able to pay our rent.
Right.
When our children are sick, we won't be able to pay the bills. Even feeding, now tomatoes is how much, pepper is how much now. We can't even now afford them.
Yeah.
That's the problem for Nigeria. How much are we using out of our revenues to service that debt? And depending on the calculation that you have, there's several ratios. Some people have said that it's almost 90%. And if that happens, it means that it stunts the ability of the government to do other things, for the people. And that's actually a major problem for Nigeria.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. What do you mean? I want to talk remittances.
Remittances. Now, diaspora remittances are very important aspects of economic development of the revenues from most countries. Yeah. Let me tell you why. For the sub-Saharan Africa, for a lot of countries in sub-Saharan Africa, interestingly, the FDI, which is foreign direct investment that comes in, the remittances is more than 1.5 times the FDIs. It tells you that the FDIs the remittances that come into Nigeria, for example, 19.5 billion at the last measure. You can, remember we are counting the FDIs in billions and low-level billions. Right. So you can see the difference in that. For a lot of countries in Sub-Saharan Africa, also like Gambia, Cape Verde, it's more than 20% of their GDP. So it speaks, therefore, as to the importance of these diaspora remittances. Yeah. And so I'm sure that's why the World Bank report is focusing on it. Now, so what are the issues for us here? The issues is that, remember, there are brothers and sisters who are working abroad. Yep. And then, for Nigeria, for example, they have been accentuated, they have been increased by this issue of JAPA, that a lot of Nigerian young professionals have actually gone abroad based on several reports. You see the number of thousands in the recent times. Yep. And so these people have their taproot in Nigeria. And so when they go over there, they work, they must send revenue, the incomes, money back to Nigeria to look after their families here, make investment and so on and so forth. And so the critical thing, therefore, is if they are unemployed abroad, they can remit money here. And the economists abroad have been struggling for growth. And that's one of the major issues that the World Bank raised, even though that we know that Europe has tried to rebound, And then the other things have been the war in Israel was Hamas thing, and the Houthi rebels have affected supply chains worldwide, and which has affected production and in the economies of those countries. And that's that. Even our own Sahel region here has affected migration and the climatic conditions also. So all those, anything that affects the fortunes of the Nigerians in diaspora affects the amount of money they can remit back here. Now, the other thing that happens is, it's amazing. At the time, I tried to remit money to Ghana, and I found that for the about $200 you want to remit, and this report is correct. Yeah. You're going to pay about $66 to remit $200.
That's a lot.
Yes. So if you want to send your family $200 in Ghana or any other Western country, you have to, and you want to send them $200, you have to put another $66 for them to get a net receipt of the amount you intend. Yeah. So the level of charges has been a major issue. From abroad, coming to Nigeria, or that Sub-Saharan Africa, it's been moderate, even though Africa is still the highest in the world. For example, for every $200 that you're going to bring to Nigeria from abroad or from all those countries of Sub-Saharan Africa, you have to pay about maybe $13. Right. Before they can get there. And so the issue, and remember that these are brothers and sisters, some of them are not holding the subscribed jobs. They're holding jobs that they're using their brawn and everything, all the energy levels, and still very nice to earn. And so every dollar that they want to send home is important to them. Yeah. And that's why these charges are very, very critical. And so they are pushing towards the low level cost to come at maybe $3 per every 100, and that makes it easy, manageable. Yeah. So that the families home can get more benefits from the remittances.
Do you see any connection between how tough it is to travel within Africa? We see the infrastructure, then connecting that to how tough it is to send money.
I wanted to link it to that. Because it's just Africa has to, remember African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. I hope that, and then Africa is you want to go to Senegal at a time, you need to fly to France. And then come to Senegal, because it's faster for you. Because if you start using the African airlines from Nigeria to go to Senegal, it might be on the way for almost 2 or 3 days with late flights, disappointments, and so many things. Yeah. So it's just intra-African, businesses. It's been very hostile to African businesses. Remember one time, like Dangote said that he needed about 40 visas to travel in Africa. Right. An African need that kind of visa. So Africa just needs to consider that and make sure that they work together to moderate the cost of transfer money from one country to another country. so many banks now are trying to make things easier.
Yeah.
And, that's why, again, you see all these fintech companies have tried to thrive. And so that to make things faster for you, and then the issue of the cost also, and those are things that are pushing.
You see this improving in the next time if we discuss this?
Of course. As most countries in Africa are becoming digitally enabled, virtual transfers become more possible, and then virtual transfers are usually less expensive than the physical transfers, where you have to cross boundaries and fiscal issues. But if it's virtual transfers, it makes sense easy. And the speed of transfers too. Before the time you transfer money, 2, 3 days, 4 days, Friday, 1 week, and not got the money. And then if it's alternative channels of like, give it to this chief, this man is going to Nigeria, give him the money might short land, They gave me $200 to give to you, but I just accept $150 now. I'll give you the balance later. With the fee, all the risks involved,
It's very accurate. Arise business analyst Chika Mbonu. Chika, thank you so much for analyzing this. I appreciate you as always.